All right. So in case someone does not have headphones, those headphones. Yeah, that's it. So otherwise, you have to shout. It's a silent show. It's a surprise because everyone's used to the NAMM show being ridiculously loud and
No, it's great.
PAs.
I hate that. I mean,
This-
the NAMM show
you can
drives me
actually-
crazy. Yeah.
That helps, yeah. All right, everyone. Oh wow. That is very, very kind of you to make sure everyone gets it. Thank you. All right, everyone. Can you all hear us? I get nods. That sounds good. That looks good. All right. Well then. Hey everyone. I'm Kris from the Thomann Guitar Channel, and I have the absolute honor of having Ned Steinberger here at the Guitar Summit Rock
Thank
Antenna
you.
stage. Thank
Good
you
to
so
be
much
here.
for
Yeah.
coming.
My pleasure.
We have a lot to talk about. Obviously, it's a huge honor for me. I'm also a guitar tech. Before I started doing the videos, that was my thing, and I have mad respect for everything that you did. You revolutionized in the bass and guitar industry, and strings now as well. Which is I want to talk about so many things.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fantastic ride for me, and the support from musicians has just meant so much to me. So thank you.
It's much appreciated, your work. Let's start with a fun fact. I didn't know this for like a while, that Ned designed the original Spectre bass, that famous shape, the NS, it's called?
Called NS, and you can guess what that refers to. And yeah, it was
Definitely not your initials, right?
It started really by chance in that I started out as a furniture designer, and my specialty was chairs, seating. And of course, seating is a lot about ergonomics. And I was also working as a cabinet maker in New York City, and joined the Brooklyn Woodworking Co-op, and Stuart was part of that co-op. There were some half a dozen of us sharing equipment and working together. And he was making guitars, but he was getting this demand for basses, and he's a guitar player, and he was feeling a little like he wasn't sure exactly, how he wanted to approach that. And I said, Stuart, this is fascinating. I'd love to take a crack at it. And again, at that point, I knew very little about instruments, but I knew a lot about ergonomics. And I thought, well, an instrument, you play it, you wear it on your body, and it's how it feels and so on is extremely important. And I learned from Stuart more about what makes a bass. And so we worked together, and we came up with the NS. The Spectre NS, and what's amazing about musical instruments is how long an instrument can last in terms of interest from players. It's not like going and buying a new car where it has to be updated, and there's all this new technology that determines, what the future is going to be. We have instruments like from Leo Fender that were designed
70,
how
80
many
years
ago, and they're still the most popular instruments today. I mean, can you imagine going and buying a car that was designed 70 years ago? I mean, it's crazy. So it's fun that way. And the Spectre guitar is, Spectre was ultimately purchased by Korg, and they're going great guns now with that design after all these years. Very, very cool.
And after that, obviously, the history has been written. Steinberger guitars came along. The L series was the initial
L
series,
was,
right?
Yeah, and what happened was working on the bass for Stuart and being focused on ergonomics, balance is a big issue for a bass. And back in those days, you only had heavy tuners. There were not the lighter tuners available today. And I was just struggling with that to get the instrument to really balance the way I wanted it to. And then just one day I said, geez, if I take that weight off the end of the neck there and put it on the body, I'll get a double whammy out of it, because I'll reduce the weight at the end of the neck and increase the weight at the end of the body. And sure enough, it just worked like a charm. And of course, what I've always wanted to do is explore and exploit the possible benefits of an electric instrument as opposed to an acoustic instrument. Now, you can't just take a heavy weight and put it on the body of an acoustic instrument, because it'll kill the sound.
Yeah.
But with an electric instrument, a solid body electric instrument, it actually reinforces that electric sound because it increases the sustain and drive because you have that weight at the bridge.
Okay.
So we got a double benefit from that, and even though it's pretty much of a stretch for players, still enough players, I could see that gleam in their eye when they tried out the Steinberger Edless bass, and that's what encouraged me to make a career out of musical instruments.
Yeah. And there's also so many bassists and guitar players. There is gonna be always a circle of players who want something different, whether it's sound, whether it's the experience, whether it's the shape. It's just the visual message that you send to the world.
The visual message is very important. I mean, all three of those are
exactly,
key.
exactly. Because if you ever played a Steinberger guitar, they have this unique tonal quality, this very clear sound, which it doesn't really want to be one of the old guitars, which is something I always appreciated about it.
Well, certainly it was never my interest in imitating, older guitars, and I wanted to take the electric guitar as far as I could. What can an electric guitar be? Because, with an acoustic instrument, there's a beauty in that you lose a little bit that intimacy with an acoustic guitar, for example. So, but there's so many possibilities with electric guitars. That's what I want to explore. That's what I want to take it as far as I possibly can. And of course, that's what these instruments here are all about. And of course, the use of carbon fiber is a big part of my work over the years. I learned the benefit of carbon fiber early on, actually, because the first headless bass I made, I had this crazy idea I was going to make it very, very lightweight and kind of flexible, and that it was all going to be great, and it was a disaster. Okay. And
what didn't work out? The stability or the tone, or
the sound? It just. Okay. And then I did different experimentation with that guitar and reinforced it, and I actually bolted the guitar down to this super heavy workbench that I had. And it just came alive. It was crazy. Okay. And so I learned that rigidity is extremely important if you want to have that. If you want sustain, you want even response from fret to fret, and all the other things that are important on an instrument, especially for an electric instrument, you want it to be rigid, and high stiffness to weight ratio is the key. And that's what I've been going for all these years. But you learn from your mistakes. That's a kind of a cliche, but it's true.
It's so true. And also, it's not just like, okay, let's cut it shorter, let's make it more square, let's cut off the headstock, and we have no.
You got to make it work. You got to.
That's not how it works. You have to rebuild the whole thing if you're doing so like such a different design, I guess, right?
And one of the things that was important is to take that weight from the headstock and incorporated in the neck, so it had also mass is important as well. So there's a balance. I mean, you obviously can't go strutting around stage with a 20-pound instrument. Although you could make it sound great, it's not going to work. You have to. It's all a balancing of different factors.
Yeah. Let's move on to your baby, your project that you're doing, NS Designs, right? How come you started making bowed instruments, electric bowed instruments, instead of immediately going for something like the Finn bass and guitar?
So the reason for that is that I sold the Steinberger Sound Company to Gibson Company back in the late 80s. And and originally I planned actually to continue working with Gibson indefinitely. I was so excited. I've never been a businessman. I am a designer. I got into business in order to make my work live, at a larger scale.
Really,
But so I was thrilled to be able to hand it over to the Gibson Company, and but the culture there for me wasn't really working, and so I went back independently, and I wanted to do something that would not be in conflict with the Steinberger brand, and bowed electric instruments just popped right out of it. And I started out with the upright bass. And one of the beautiful things about an upright bass is the longer strings. And for a bass, the longer the string, the better. If you think about a grand piano, the bass strings are 13 feet long. That's not just for fun. That's because you get it. It rings out in a higher harmonics in a different way. It's got clarity and brilliance. It's also the depth of it, so you can hear that bass, all through the harmonic structure. So. Working with an instrument with a 42-inch scale was like, whoa, this is what I want to do. And that worked out extremely well. It's also interesting that when I got into making the upright bass, of course, I've always sought out musicians for input. And a lot of the input I got on what do you want in an electric upright bass, and basically players said, well, I want it to be as much like an acoustic bass as possible. And
so articulation,
the way it sounds and feels and everything. The feel is one thing, but I wanted to explore what an electric instrument could be. So I said, well, thank you very much. I'll keep that in mind. But I wanted to really imagine what an upright bass could be, electric upright bass could be. And of course, another thing that I believe in very strongly is the benefit of the versatility of an electric instrument. With an acoustic instrument, if you pluck it a certain way, you get a certain sound. You can't change that sound.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you electrify it or otherwise modify the sound. But with an electric instrument, you can have such a wide palette if you organize it and you have the right pickup and electronics and so on. So that's something I really wanted to explore with the electric upright. On the one hand, to be able to create a sound which was comparable to an acoustic sound, but on the other hand, just to take it wherever you want to go. That was my motivation, and I developed the polar pickup system in order to do that, to be able to get a great pizzicato sound and a great bowed sound, and it's been extremely well received. I started out with Tony Levin, was the first person to get interested in it, and he right away made these great recordings, and I was just talking with him the other day. He's just made such great music. And then, of course, we got into the violin, the viola, the cello, and it's been a great experience. And I've been doing it for quite a long time now.
And now, we have these babies. The Finn.
So the thing is that. Guitars, I'm sorry, bass guitars, they also are something very, very special. And so a lot of what these guitars are about is an evolution of my understanding of what an instrument could be. When I started out, I came up with a headless design, the Steinberger bass. I was young, I had a lot of energy and imagination, but I didn't know that much, compared to what I know now. Spending a lifetime of close to 50 years. And so these instruments represent an evolution of my thinking and understanding and maximizing all the things that I can look back and say, well, I could have done this. I've done it now, everything I could imagine I want to do. So I'm very excited about these instruments. In particular, these are 100% carbon fiber, which the original Steinbergers were carbon fiber, fiberglass, and phenolic for the fingerboards. These have carbon fiber fingerboards. And
can we grab?
Yeah, why don't you
but I can hold it and you can talk about it?
Yeah, I think that'd be great, and I can grab this one too. Okay, let's see if I can
I shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, all right, so.
Wow.
Second, of course, if you're going to sit with it, you flip out the leg rest here. And of course, these are multi-scale, which is a fun thing to explore. And
I think you have to move the mic
okay. So these are both these instruments are multi-scale, and they're kind of moderate multi-scales, and but there's a lot of benefit to multi-scale in terms of tonality and playability. So I incorporated that into the design, and again, if you see the balance here is really perfect. Also on the strap, you can jump up and down with this bass, and there's no neck dive whatsoever and all that kind of thing. And part of the secret there is there's a little counterbalance in back here. That's part of the nature of how this design evolved to be able to do that. And I think, if you put that on, you'll see that it really is very, very comfortable.
I just put down the mic a bit?
Sure. So, here you go. I don't know. You know, it's player comfort is a big deal for me, and that weighs 5.5 pounds. But it's, again, the stiffness to weight ratio is very, very high. So you get long sustain and so on with that instrument, even though it's not that heavy. The same is true for the bass. So
even though it's very, very light, like
Yeah.
if you're used to normal instrument weights, this is half of it. It doesn't feel strange. It doesn't feel out of its comfort zone.
And you know, it's basically
nice.
2/3 of the weight of a
Yeah.
well, it's half the weight of a Les Paul.
Exactly. That's
for
the thing.
sure.
Like, it depends on what your instrument is. Because if you play a Stingray or a Les Paul, you know, whether it's bass or guitar, that's
Yeah, and so and access, and one of the things too is you can see if you look at the backside here.
Oh, yeah.
Now, first of all, the reason that the body extends as much as it does is in order to reach this point here for the strap, so that you get the balance that you've got.
it's for balance.
For balance,
purposes. Okay.
but you see that you have access here for your thumb. That's very good access, even though this body is extended further forward. So access is another thing that is, you know, very important to me, that the player can have you know, full access to the instrument, and so that you can you're not limited in your technique because of restrictions of the instrument itself.
Then I've read a few things about this. First of all, the pickups. So
Okay.
this is a cover, and then you can choose to have different pickups inside,
it's
right?
modular, so that if
Modular,
you wanted to
okay.
change the pickups, you can change that pickup package or whatever.
It's a package of.
Inside there you've got 3 humbuckers made by EMG. I've worked with Rob Turner at EMG for so many years. He's great, and he worked with me on getting that perfected. So you have, again, 3 humbuckers. You also have a coil tap, so you can make them into single coils. But if you decide you want a different kind of pickup arrangement, you can pull that out and put another one in, whatever you're interested in. As far as the controls go, you know, it has a 5-way selector switch that's very standard, and a volume and a tone. That the volume is the first knob, the tone is the last knob. And it's passive, normally passive, but it has what we call an activator. This is a circuit that was developed by Mikhail Ioffa of MiSi, and I've worked with Mikhail for quite a while now, and he's the electronics genius, really. But we work together in terms of configuring it for electric guitar. He's more oriented towards acoustics traditionally. So when you pull up on the middle switch there, a middle knob, okay, now the activator is activated, and you get anywhere from a 3 dB boost to a 12 dB, which is a big boost, and you also get a low impedance output, so that your cable length is not an issue. You can plug it into any input device, mixing board or low impedance amplifier. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, but and it's very clean, okay? Yeah. So it's clean, and the other thing that's just so cool about it is there's no battery. It's active, but it uses a supercapacitor, and the supercapacitor can be charged in 1 minute. You just plug, you have this I brought this along just to show, this is the wall wart, okay? You plug that into the wall, you plug this end into the jack, output, right? Jack, okay? So, and you leave it in there for 1 minute. You know, if you're doing a gig, you don't have to wonder whether your batteries are charged or not. You plug that in for a minute, and you know you've got at least 12 hours of play time, and that usually covers most gigs, I think. So it's really an incredible invention, and I'm so excited to be able to include it on the guitar.
I'm also really excited to see it because I know MiSi, or the way I mispronounce it here in Europe, MiSi. From acoustic guitars, I have a Taylor guitar where I have that built in, and I love it. It's just always reassuring to know I have my whatever covers show 4 hours of playing, plug it in for a minute. I know I'm safe. I will not have to curse because the guitar, just dies on me on stage.
And you also don't have to. You don't have to replace a battery that's only half used because you're worried that it's going to give out on you.
Yeah.
So it's ecologically also much
exactly.
better.
There's no trash.
So it's got a lot of
issue for it.
advantages.
No, I'm really glad to see that. I'm really excited and definitely want to try it out. If anyone wants to try these instruments, do you have
Booth
your
103. Booth 103.
103. So booth 103. Make sure to check them out. It's incredible. Now, obviously, these are pretty pricey boutique instruments, thanks to all the reasons.
Yes, and these are also brand new, limited production. So these instruments there's a limited edition of 12 of each made from the first mold.
Okay.
And they are that's $8,500. This is $9,500. But that's not where I really want to be. I want to make instruments that are available at prices that people can afford. So these are very, very special. Very, tremendous amount of investment has gone into building these instruments. So, but we look forward to developing them in the future. Also, wooden models that are much more economical, but with the neck is the most important part as far as rigidity goes. So we're reinforcing these wooden instruments with carbon fiber in a way that really is unique and really going to be great instruments and more affordable.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. It's such an exciting beginning for this new generation and new design, the Finn instruments.
It's very exciting for me after all these years, to be putting together. I mean, I've been thinking about this instrument for years and developing it for years. It didn't happen overnight, and now to finally have it completed, and I'm very excited about it.
Super nice to see it, and thank you so much for taking time for us.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the show.
Thank you.
See you at your booth.
Okay, thank you.
Ned Steinberger, everyone, give it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just put that away.
I was going to take it with me.
Yeah, you can. Maybe some engineers will run after you. Thank you so much.